Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm going live in an effort to try to learn all of my tech, and this is what we call low-hanging fruit. The skill practice here is going live on multiple places and also sharing therapy tools. Today I'm sharing to Wellness Cleveland, and one of the playlists is the therapy tools. So I have some anxiety workbooks I use that I share with students, I share with my patients, I share with interns and other helping professionals. Today I thought I'd just read something real quick from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. One of the great things I love about the Imagination Library is that it is something that's culturally shared across classes. Who does not get behind Dolly Parton? Nobody. Gender, race, age, location, region, everyone can see Dolly for what she is, which is a great human. In who she is, which is a connected individual who really treasures community connections and invests a lot of time and energy back into them. So I am mid-project of reading into existence a lot of the articles that I use and sharing technologies. And we don't think about it, but books are a technology. And it was a technology for sharing stories between people. And if you've read about the Brothers Grimm, the story tales in the Brothers Grimm were actually meant as a dictionary, and the first written dictionary of the German language, connecting all those tribal languages of those people. So the stories that we share with our children teach them the universal language of stories that are inherent to our culture. As a social worker, as a child and family therapist, as a crisis intervention person who's done things like respond on scene to very terrible phone calls, respond afterwards, provide therapy and healing and connection in unthinkable times and in unthinkable places, when I pull out this book and kids recognize it, it's a little piece of home. So if it's a book they've paged through at Storytime on their own and made up stories to, and then they see it at Miss Patti, their talking doctor's office, that's immediately a connection point. And if they read it with their godparent or their auntie, and then Miss Patti knows it too, that's a little piece of warmth and connection. So I love shared stories, and I love the intersectionality that shared stories bring us. Now, this story is one that children 0 to 99 have liked with me. And also, I like to bring out when people are talking to me about the grief stages. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her stages of grief is an amazing example of people attempting to learn, self-help, manualize, and destigmatize mental health, and applying research wrong. And then there's this large cultural misconception of what it was. So here's what we think about the stages of grief colloquially as a culture. You find out about a death. You are in shock. You are in denial. You are angry. You are sad. You are, and you go through these stages of grief sequentially. And that's not how the research was actually conducted. And that's not the meaning that it is ascribed to it. So the stages of grief model that all of you probably know, these stages of grief, was actually done. This woman, this researcher, interviewed people who knew they were going to be dying. So it's about coming to terms with your own death, which if you've been in a scenario like that, where you've actually confronted your own death, it is very different than coming to terms with grieving the loss of another person. Now, grieving the loss of another is also a varied experience. The loss of a child, the loss of an unborn child, that's the loss of a future. That's the loss of a dream. That's a loss of hope. The loss of someone at the end of their life. That's a loss of shared story. That's a loss of someone to carry the burden with, right? So grief is personal and unique. And as Stephen King says, true love is boring. who writes a story about that? No one writes an 800-page epic of love. It just, and then they were happy again, and then they were happy again. So grief is uniquely horrible for everyone. And one of the coping skills we use is to understand that, if we have the center of our universe, and we think about the gravitational pull of that perfect circle, and we will just orbit around the center of our universe. And if that center of our universe splits into two foci, well, that's what our solar system does, is it goes around in an oval around this first and then second focus. Well, grief, we think, is a little bit like a figure eight, where sometimes the rupture of that focus of our life, the way that it was and the way it is now, here we are, snot running down our face, crying, weeping, and here we come, feeling a little surreal and normal and happy, and then we're back in, and then we're coming in. So this is our natural state of coming to terms with our new normal. And one of the things that we can do is really cognitively refocus, not on what was or what should have been or how unhappy we are, but on the positive things we see every day. So our attention acts like a magnifying glass, and we can turn that magnifying glass to grow feelings that are positive emotional states to help us create more of the new and surreal and to move out of the intensely deep. Not that we want to avoid all negative emotions, but we're not meant to live there. Kindness is My Superpower by Alicia Ortega. I'm Lucas, just an ordinary boy, and this is Teddy, my favorite toy. I like to eat sweets, jellies, and cakes, but sometimes I make some mistakes. You see, yesterday I was in a very bad mood. So sadly, I did something extremely rude. I teased my friend Lisa for wearing glasses. It made her cry for the rest of her classes. When I got home, I was greeted by my mom. I was sad to see her face looking glum. Honey, you made your friend Lisa cry. Hurting people's feelings is wrong. Do you know why? You should always be kind, my dear mother said. I knew I'd done wrong, so I bowed my head. What does it mean to be kind? I implored. Mom hugged me tightly. When she did, my heart soared. Kindness is shown when you say a gentle word. Be kind to your sister and even to a bird. You can be kind to someone who makes you mad. You can be kind to someone who's feeling sad. Be kind and respect those who are older than you. Show respect and kindness to younger ones too. Kindness is shown helping someone in need. And kindness is shown when you do a good deed. I pondered her words and couldn't sleep all night. I wanted to be kind and genuinely polite. So right then and there, without any warning, I decided to become very kind in the morning. And in the morning, the first thing I did do when Mom made me breakfast, I told her thank you. I changed out of my pajamas, warm, soft, and red. I put away my toys and made my own bed. On the bus, I behaved the best as could be. I even asked the new boy to sit next to me. At school, I helped him find his classroom too. I knew it was the very least I could do. I said good morning to all of my friends. I even shared my brand new crayons and pens. Then I saw Lisa. Her eyes still looked sad. I approached her slowly, still feeling bad. I'm sorry I teased you, I said with a bent head. Lisa gave me a smile. It's okay, she said. I realized that kindness is really super cool. So I was also kind when I got out of school. Outside, I waited my turn on the slide. And you know what? I felt good and happy inside. I was patient and kind, not angry at all, and I even found joy helping a boy find his ball. I picked up the rubbish even though it wasn't mine. Kindness and good deeds made my heart shine. I loved going shopping with Mom to buy food. Holding open doors put me in such a good mood. And after we bought my favorite toy and a treat, Mom and I helped an old lady cross the street. I continued to be kind with joy and glee, watching Dad fall asleep in front of the TV. He was sleeping on the sofa instead of his bed, so I covered with a blanket and kissed his forehead. I helped my little sister tie her shoelace. I was glad to see the big smile on her face. I no longer do mean things like before. I don't tease others and I don't slam the door. I stopped being selfish and I share all my toys. I don't shout out loud or make too much noise. Kindness is something anyone can learn. Give to others and ask nothing in return. Helping others is simply the best thing to do. When you are kind, kindness comes back to you. Acts of kindness. So we have all these little sticky notes that are simple acts of kindness, and I love to read this story with little guys. This is particularly, like, I would say kids 6 to 10 who are in therapy with me. This is a great therapy activity. We talk about our day. We read the book. We kind of point out things. Wow, that's like me. Oh, don't you have a sister? They find things in the picture they want to tell me about. The point is not for them to learn the words. The point is not for them to say it or get the letters right. This is not an academic exercise. The point of this is to enjoy it. So did you see how I enjoyed? I mean, I truly enjoyed reading it. And that's the therapy magic. If you are a parent who's teaching your children emotions, is you're actually expressing the emotion by enjoying it. And you're teaching them that when you read books, it's your story time. So I like to read it all through and look at the acts of kindness and say, like, oh, thumbs up or thumbs down. Do we like this one? Do we not like this one? And then we see how many we can come up with, which is especially fun if you have like a dry erase board or some markers or Post-it notes. And if you're a grown-up kid, age 0 to 99, I defy you to not have fun with colored Post-it notes, coming up with acts of kindness that you can do for yourself or others on your way to wherever, on your way to the mailbox, on your way to the grocery store, on your way to the bus stop. And the very act of noticing and assigning those Post-it notes will train your brain to be looking for kindness rather than looking for scary signs, which our brains are just kind of naturally programmed to do. So in times of grief, in times of stress, in times when we need a little extra pick-me-up, per usual, we can always turn to Dolly. Thanks, girl. Share.